How to make the most money from a hoarder house. That's what we're talking about today. Hi, I'm Charlotte Volch, certified probate specialist and trust advisor. Now today we're talking about a hoarder house. And what exactly is a hoarded house? Maybe you've become responsible for a property that appears to be hoarded. What is your responsibility around dealing with the amount of personal property and how to make the most money when it is a hoarded home, especially when it's hoarded probate real estate? So let's start with the definition of a hoard. A hoarded house is a home that someone has lived in for years and it's often kind of beat up or, left in disrepair by the owner. The owner may have a hoarding disorder, which is diagnosable. It's a condition by the American Psychiatric Association, and it's in the manual that many professionals use to diagnose mental disorders. So that manual, the DSM, says that hoarding is a perceived need to acquire and hold on to many things, many that are not even worth anything. What seemed like trash to both of us does not seem like trash to that person. And the result can be a very unsanitary situation. Now, according to the Mayo Clinic, hoarding often leads to very cramped living conditions, that homes may be filled to capacity and only narrow pathways winding through the stacks of clutter. Now, hoarding does range from mild to quite severe, and many people live in this environment for years. And when they pass away, the situation becomes a responsibility of a family member. Now, on top of the sorrow of losing a loved one, the family members are stuck with how to handle everything that is left behind. And it may be a brand new situation for the family members. And they truly do not know what to do with so much stuff. Selling a hoarder home and all the things that may become so overwhelming to those family members. In hoarding situations, they're often very complicated. If you want to get market value for the home, much of the time it needs to be totally cleared out, and then cost-effective repairs need to be made. So if you're wanting to sell to a traditional home buyer, then there's a lot that's going to need to be done to make it desirable to that traditional home buyer. That not only takes time, but it takes a lot of money. It's probably going to need much more than just a coat of paint or replacement of flooring. Some common scenarios when handling a hoarder home include the following. There's structural issues to look at. There's dead animals, there's rotten walls and floorboards. There's biological waste, both animal and sometimes human. There's major problems everywhere, and extreme cleaning needs to be done. Crew would need to come in to take care of much of that. Sometimes it requires heavy-duty equipment, such as hazmat suits. There's going to be pest control, handling the heavy odors. These odors can be permeated all through the surfaces of the property. We're talking about walls, ceilings, floors, counters. All may have to be removed. This is so much work beyond what's normal. Now, if you don't live in the area, you might want to hire a contractor to be able to see over everything. And you'll need a very trustworthy person to oversee just the clean out of the property. And then, if you want cost-effective repairs done, just depending on what the situation is. Now, it's possible, and I've helped with those situations. I just recently helped with a minimal hoarding situation where I got a roll-off dumpster, hired a crew to go and just remove everything, get it into the dumpster, and drive it away. Then we were thinking of doing some cost-effective repairs, but after looking, the seller and I decided, the best option would be to sell it as is in that particular case. Let's get into what does it really cost to fix up and sell this type of a property. Now, of course, this depends on where you live and how much damage there is to the property. Now, according to a website called Fixer.com, the national average for a mild cleanup is between $3,000 and $5,000. This would be for a roughly 2,000 square foot house or smaller, and you can count on about $1,000 a day roughly for a larger home. But if there happens to be human waste or hazardous materials or other extra cleanups to the extreme level, this could actually go upwards to $25,000, and that's just for cleaning out the property. That doesn't include making the home ready to sell. Now, in the case of the recent help I did in the mild hoarding home, once we started really looking at all the things that we need fixing and repaired, it just made more sense to sell the property as is. Now, sometimes things can just be cleaned up a bit and some paint put on, maybe some new hardware on cabinets, maybe some new carpeting, and then it's okay. Now, selling a hoarder home is not selling in the old-fashioned conventional way. It may not be your best option to do any repairs at all. I always help my clients look at all the numbers. So we look at as is, we do a $30,000 worth of repair and compare the difference. I want to make sure that the return on the investment is going to be worth it to my seller. Helping with a hoarder property, I have to tell you, most real estate agents will be at a loss on what to do. They will just immediately say, let's just sell it as is. They won't even try or think of other options that are available to you in the estate to get the most money for your loved one's home. And in many cases, just like you, the real estate agents might not want to take on all that work because, believe me, it's a lot of work. And that's something you just need to be aware of so that you can make sure that when you choose someone to help you, especially when you live outside that area, you're going to need someone who can actually help to guide you to what your best option is. Because generally, when you're working with a real estate agent, you are hiring them to list the property, take you through the sale, to get photos, put it on multiple listing, get it out there to the open market. Realtor.com, Trulia, Zillow, for instance. You're not hiring that person to totally overhaul the house. So if you choose to just sell the house as is with any type of real estate agent, I suppose you could do that by not getting anyone who really can give you your options. See, my team and I, we've helped many people through this process. And I've even helped with homes that are so extremely hoarded. We hired a team to go in and just make sure they look through everything to make sure something hadn't been lost, because my client lived in Dallas, Texas, and she just couldn't see herself traveling to go through that big pile of hoard. So I hired a company to go in, and basically we went through every bit of paper and box and everything that was in the house, and they actually did find one safe. Of course, nobody knew the combination. And I hired a locksmith to come in. He got into the safe, and in there was jewelry of her dad's. And then I got to her in Texas, and she was the executor of the estate. I sent that to her in Texas to put with the proceeds of the estate. Now, if you decide to sell as is, there is a part about being somewhat discreet and not publishing all types of photos out there on the internet. So that is something that I'm also aware of, to be a little bit discreet about that condition of the home. Of course, the people that go into the home to consider buying it, they're going to see the condition. It doesn't have to be out there for everybody. So on top of the situation of finding buyers, that is another thing to consider. Because I've been helping with estate situations for over 11 years now. And I have a list of investors, in excess of 40 actually, who are looking for a home with these specific types of needs. And they're also prepared to do any type of repairs. So the way I address this is, once the home is on the market and it's out there for everyone to see, then I make sure my team and my assistant email all of the investors to let them know quickly that this home is available. Now, I'm continually looking at ways to market this type of home so that we get the most buyer interest and they're willing to go through all the work of getting it prepared. Many of my clients have told me that once they are responsible for a property as an administrator or an executor, they receive many, many phone calls and lots of mail from investors wanting to purchase the home. I have another video on that, and the link will be up above me somewhere, and that may be helpful for you, just to watch that on how to sell to an investor without any specific type of help that someone like me and my team would give you. You may choose to sell as is, skipping the cleanups or the repairs. I do suggest you have someone go through the left behind items just to ensure there's nothing of value you may have missed, hidden or tucked away in drawers, maybe in bookcases, or who knows where. And I just finished helping a client from Georgia where his father had many heirlooms and war medals in one of the homes that were to be sold. And he was having trouble coordinating trips from the East Coast to the West Coast. So we helped with a sorter and an estate sale coordinator to protect the things that he wanted that were of value and the memoirs, and then to get the most values for what was not in those categories. Now, having today's technology, we were able to FaceTime and do Zoom inventories, so he had a record and he could review them at his leisure and then make a determination of what he wanted to sell, what he wanted to keep, and what was most precious. This allows for quicker timeline. Once the property is on the market, as we negotiate shorter periods on all contingencies that allow you to finish this step of the probate process and get back to living your life. This is why I'm called the easy button, as I have solutions as a problem solver. More importantly, I'm a problem avoider. So click subscribe to be notified for the next video, and I look forward to seeing you next time.